Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the first session of Digital Hollywood. My name is Ken Rutkowski. I do a show on CBS Radio as well as on Fox. And we're here to talk about user-generated content, audience-generated content also. Because what I like to do on the panels that I moderate is giving you the opportunity to ask questions while the panel's happening. Please do not wait to the end. This is truly interactive, so you are going to control the questions, the comments, suggestions. So just please raise your hand at any point in time so you can actually get your questions in. Because let's face it, this is the hottest topic. Hands down, you are in the right panel. The reason why is if you look at the front cover of the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Times, user-generated content. The sites, please don't take this wrong, Google, but look at YouTube. It's on top right now. A year ago, we would never, ever think about this. We would never even see sites that didn't exist 18 months ago take on monsters when it comes to traffic. I understand it's in certain areas, different demographics, but right now, user-generated content is on top, without a doubt. So this is extremely exciting. By the way, raise your hand here if you've actually uploaded content to one of those sites from MySpace, YouTube. Great, wow, that's a high percentage. How many of you here have a blog? Raise your hand. You have a blog. Okay, great. Now remember the whole idea of the Rubik's Cube? When we sat there with the Rubik's Cube and you would do it for like an hour and you always had one side that still didn't work. You would do it over and over again and one side still didn't work. Well, that's kind of the old .com days. We couldn't figure it totally out back then. And now it's back. And we have that Rubik's Cube in front of us. How are we going to generate revenue? How are we going to stay in business? How are we going to make our shareholders happy? How are we going to take this concept of content and take it to the next level? And our panel's going to help us out on how to actually get that Rubik's Cube all in the right area. So I'm going to give each one of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. Spend about a minute. Guys, tell us about who you are, your company, and kind of your motto, your elevator pitch, which is generally about 8 seconds long. So go first.
Hi, I'm Andrew Ranker, and actually, to answer the question about uploading content, I'm about to do it if I can get a signal here. I come from 6 Apart. We make movable type, typepad, live journal. We have a new product that was in pre-release as of June, launching in October called Vox, which I actually run, which is what I'm about to upload to. And I'm bad with elevator pitches. We like to give people the tools to sort of do their own thing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of different tools to make that happen.
We got to fix that elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm Oliver Luckett. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Rever, based in Los Angeles. And what we do is we allow people to upload video content to the internet, give them tools to share it, give them tools to protect it, but more importantly, we give them tools to monetize the content with an ad-supported model. From a company zeitgeist perspective, we are really about the creator and about empowering a new generation of people to embrace the distributed architecture of the internet in a video format and make a sustainable living from it. So,
sounds good.
I'm Eric Hawkins. I'm the CEO of Pure Video. Pure Video owns and operates a collection of branded media destinations. I guess our elevator pitch would be that we rely very heavily and believe very deeply in context. Context for the content creator, context for the consumer of the content, and context for the advertiser. And our strategy is to build these media destinations around specific passion points to aggregate audience that can be monetized at a very, very high rate, and then over time to expose the utilities we've built to facilitate that to our consumers.
Sounds good.
Hi, I'm Jason Zajac from Yahoo, and I run the social media properties at Yahoo, which are all the multimedia search properties, communities like Flickr and the new Yahoo Video. And in terms of our approach and how we got where we are with video, it's Yahoo. And I think the greatest billboard I ever saw for Yahoo back in the heyday was the big sort of hotel sign that said Yahoo, it's a great place to stay on the internet. And I think that's our approach to video. If you want to search, browse, share, and create and engage in the communities that are there, it's the place we want you to be. Most importantly, it's the place we want you to start so that you can find everything that's out there, and if we have the stuff that you want to stay and play with, you'll do that on Yahoo, and if it's search and we want you to find stuff that's out there because it's what you're looking for, we'll help you do that too.
My name is Peter Chain. I'm the group product manager for Google Video. Google is a large internet search engine. may have heard of. And our goal with Google Video is to index and search over all the world's video. A small percent of the world's video is currently online. Our goal is to bring it online and to do a good job of searching over it, indexing it, and driving users to wherever that video exists on the internet.
I'm Scott Roche. I'm the general manager of video services at Atom Entertainment. Those services are atomfilms.com and addictingclips.com. And what we're really about with both of our services is finding new talent, distributing their content, building a business around that content, and sharing the revenue with creators. Over the years, Atom Films actually launched in 1998. We're one of the first services in this market, and over the years we've shared millions of dollars in royalties with creators, broken new talent, and over the last year we've seen what's happening with the user-generated content market, where creators are literally posting stuff directly to the web. And we kind of said, wow, we've been doing that, but we've had a few too many shackles on the system. So we launched a site called Addicting Clips where people could publish and share their own video. So we've got an interesting perspective on the market, I think. One with a heavily programmed service with an established business model, Atom Films, and one with Addicting Clips, which is has great traffic, it's very dynamic, and we're building that business model along with some of the other panelists on the table up here.
How many people here are content creators? You actually create content? Raise your hand. Okay, great. How many people here are in the aggregation and distribution of content? Wow. I always like to ask this. How many lawyers are in the room? Oh, there you are. Okay. So now we know. That's actually the first question. All this content, I mean, the numbers are astronomical, 80+%. Some of these sites that have copy infringement, you're shaking your head yes. Oliver, you know exactly, I don't want to say YouTube, but that's the one that's really popping up in front of everyone, because it's even people lip syncing to songs. I mean, that music behind there has some copy infringement. So Oliver, how are you at Rever working around that?
We made a decision right as we started that we were building a business. And we saw that, I mean, everybody knows in this room that the internet is going to be video-based. It's a matter of time before processing power, storage, and bandwidth reach certain points that everyone has it. So when that happens, what we said is if you're going to monetize this traffic, if you're going to go to the expense of hosting this traffic and building systems to share it, and then you should have content that can be advertised against from day one.
Okay.
And so we actually have a human review process. And a lot of people balk at that, but in order to have trust from advertisers and trust from our community, which is more important, it's really our copyright holders, the little guys, that are the most angry at the kind of big gorillas or the new kind of upstarts that don't respect their rights. And so they're the ones that have kind of been more public than even the studios.
So you're telling me you actually have a group of people that look at every upload and decide if there's any form of infringement?
24 hours a day, we have a thing called Video Patrol. It's a distributed product that we created that allows people from their homes or from the office monitor our content as it comes in, and we screen proactively for pornography, for hate speech, for music copyright infringement, as well as video copyright infringement. Because you're right, I mean, you look at the majority of content, you look at very clear examples of services that were built on the backs of infringing material.
Give me an idea, traffic-wise, how many uploads? Everyone seems to be measuring things by uploads and viewers. What's Rever have right now?
We're doing thousands a day.
Nice. Now give me a real number.
A real number? No. We are. We're doing, between 1,000 and 5,000
a day. Okay.
Depending upon how, depending upon how, I don't know, it goes through waves. It's like, at some point we're rejecting, 50, 60, 70% of content. These are videos that get through the system. And then other days we're rejecting, 10% of the content. It's really based on, I think, who's reading about us and who's knowing what type of service we are.
I think it's in some ways the wrong question, though, because everybody asks that question and people tout this number. We get 70,000 uploads a day, we get 1 million uploads a day. And if your goal is to be a utility that provides a service for a lot of people for free, that's a great number to drop. If your goal is to build a business, as Oliver said, it's not such a great number. We control our upload numbers by providing context. We only want certain kinds of clips, and those are the only clips there's a reward for submitting. So what we do is measure yield. Of the clips that are submitted, how many of those clips become usable content?
That's a good number. There's some seats up here, people, if you want to sit up here. Don't be afraid.
We see a tremendous amount of video coming off of systems like YouTube. So people download from them and then re-upload it to us.
Okay. Andrew,
that's what we see.
He said it's gonna be video. It's gonna be video. Blogging is kind of a mash between video, audio, and text. Where do you see it going?
Oh, I mean, we see the copyright infringement actually is probably the nowhere on our radar screen, because most of what we're seeing uploaded these days tends to be, especially in Vox and LiveJournal, which are both of more of our community sites. It's personal video. It's it's people out surfing because they're just learning how to do that, or their kids' first steps, or the sort of camping trip that they just went on. And so what we're seeing in the sort of the mass of new content coming on is less and less about things that may or may not be copyright infringement. I think a lot of times even the copyright infringement stuff was actually put there by the content holders, but much more about just personal video, personal media sharing. I mean, we all have probably cameras and phones, they all do video, they all do pictures. These things are so easy now that that's really where the future of video sharing is going.
Technorati says it's 2 blogs a second, 175,000 a day. I mean, it's unmeasurable. How do you actually take these massive amounts of blogs and now start searching them? I mean, obviously both Google, I think, Yahoo, you have a blog environment, obviously, yes? 360? 360. How do you manage and search this and make it so information is relevant?
Yeah, well, there's sort of 2 types of blogs. For the types of blogs that we now sort of think of as the classic blogs, which are these big publishing system-like blogs, the Boing Boings, Instapunnets of the world, Google and Yahoo do a great job. The blogs generate HTML, they search them, and I think that's a very well solved problem. The other side of it, which is personal blogging, actually it's even easier. Your mom calls you up and says she has a blog, here's the address, go check it out. And so you don't need a search engine for that. It's your family, you find your brothers, and your brother's also hooked up to your cousin, and your cousin's hooked up to the guy you also went to college with, and you just find them by just surfing through your friends.
Got it. Jason, I got a strange question for you. Why isn't Microsoft on this panel?
Did you invite them?
Yeah, why aren't they here? Do they not get it?
Like, I think they... You would have to ask Microsoft why they chose not to participate in this panel. Like, I mean, I think that obviously they've invested a ton in technology that a lot of us use in different ways. They've been out there.
I'm just curious. I'm looking at
we have some of their best people working for us, and maybe that's
over there. And what's your approach that's a little more unique than what Rever and the other companies are doing?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of the discussion about video today is very much dominated by the latest wave, the user-generated content, kind of the unfettered upload and all of that. And that's big. I think there is obviously this both blogging and photo sharing and video are showing that there actually is this huge, certainly demand and latent sort of creative demand out there from people. People have content they want to share with the world, and even if it's not theirs, they want to share and participate in it. But it's also important to remember that there is still a tremendous amount of whether you call it head content or premium content that still drives a ton of the engagement on the internet. It's where a lot of us started. Whether you look certainly at Yahoo with hundreds of millions of video streams on music videos or news or sports or things like that.
Did you download the Jessica Simpson Asian Provocateur or whatever it was called? Did you download it?
It was not my content, of course, but did I look at that? I think a great example is the Jessica Simpson sort of fan video, right? Which is this example of the marrying of head content and tail content. User-generated content oftentimes needs sort of that spark of premium content. Again, whether you call it rights infringing or you call it creative expression, the snakes on a plane phenomenon where people took premium studio content and created arguably better content, playing off of that, or the fan videos, the lip sync. Some of them are actually quite good, creative.
But they are infringing.
I think that they're
sometimes they're orchestrated.
Yeah.
They're orchestrated.
I think there is, and not to get into a legal discussion, there is definitely, I think, one of the most interesting evolving areas around copyright is the whole concept of fair use. And fair use really does provide for the reuse of owned copyrighted content if the reuse is a transformative version of it, and you could argue that some of these remixes really are. They are not a substitute. Watching the collection of people who did their own hip shaking to the Shakira video is not really a substitute for the original content. And I think that is an area that's going to evolve quite a bit. There's also a long history of promotion. If you look at whether it's TV, news stations that are allowed to reshow clips of sports, or local sports, or the kind of the entertainment shows that are allowed to show that. So I think, what our take has always been that, when you're striving for a really large audience, and Yahoo serves a really large audience, there's always going to be a mix of genres, and the mainstream stuff is going to remain popular. But what's incredible now is the ability to allow people to add to it and share and comment.
Peter, what is YouTube doing right?
What is YouTube doing right? Well, I think YouTube just shows that a couple guys can start a website with a really clever formula and sort of an open philosophy and get really big fast. And I think that's what makes the internet so great. I think that's
what are they doing wrong?
A lot of us work in the internet. Right now, I don't know. I think they're doing a lot of things really. I think they're doing a lot of things really well. I don't want to be a critic of YouTube. I think they're a phenomenal site, and I think they've done a great job of actually helping content creators realize that the internet's a place for their content to live.
So what is Google learning from YouTube?
What are we learning from YouTube? I think with Google, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to really achieve scale with video. We have the systems to store and serve all the world's video, and we really mean all the world's video. We're digitizing video that's offline, we're indexing and capturing video that's already online, and we're working with content creators to bring more premium content online through deals and relationships. So what we're really doing is trying to be comprehensive, because there really isn't a place on the internet today where you can find all the world's video, no matter where it is. And we really want to achieve that.
You really emphasize all the world's videos, multiple cultures, multiple long-form videos. By the way, I love Charlie Rose. You guys have Charlie Rose for commercial free. I'm being serious. You can see all that. But the idea now is this user-generated direction where it seems this is where the audience is gravitating towards. How do you entice? Is the MySpace deal really going to help you get a lot more video then to start populating your servers?
The MySpace deal is really about search and advertising. Where we'll power search and advertising on MySpace, and that's really exciting. With video, as I said, what we're really trying to do is be comprehensive, achieve scale, and get all the world's video. No matter if it's a user upload, if it's a premium TV show like Charlie Rose, if it's a video on another website. We currently link out to AOL, for instance, because they have some interesting videos on their website, and users should have access to that. So we really want to just make sure that as video explodes on the web, that users can find it, and it's really accessible and searchable.
Got it. By the way, there's about 13 chairs up here. If you want to come up, it's a lot better to sit.
Another point I want to get to is, you brought up a really good point about copyright, and I think there is a lot of copyright content coming online. And I think what's really happened with that stuff is that it's taught the content creators a couple things. One is that their content is going to get online, whether they want it to be or not.
Right.
They really can't control their content the way they want to. So they need to live in that world. And we've heard a lot of content creators, sort of agree that this is the world we're living in, where our content is online. The second thing I think that content creators have learned from the user-generated phenomenon is that short clips really work well. If a content creator produces a long-form piece of content, it really needs to be consumed in a short clip. And we're seeing a lot of content creators come to us and saying, how do we make our content more appropriate for online? An hour Charlie Rose show may not be the thing you want to watch online, but you may want to watch a 10-minute segment of Madeleine Albright talking about a certain topic. And I think that's really something that the user-generated sort of phenomenon has taught the professional content creators in terms of how to get their content online in little pieces that are really easy to digest.
Or see Madeleine Albright dance to a Shakira song.
Or see Madeleine Albright dance to a Shakira song.
Scott, how do
Would you pay for that?
Would I pay for that? I think we all would. Kind of. In a sick way. Go ahead, Eric.
I said, no, I've got a great site for that Madeleine Albright video.
Oh, okay. Scott, how do you make money doing this? How do you make money taking all this content that everyone's contributing, aggregate it, and find a revenue model around it?
You have to be incredibly focused on building an ad sales team that has the reach and the capabilities to get out and talk to media buyers, media planners, creatives.
Well, here, pretend I'm Procter & Gamble. You've got a big budget. Convince me to advertise with you.
Who's your demo? What product?
Dove.
All right, Dove. Well, for you, I'd say we've got a great site. I'm not on the sales team, like Andrew.
Just outsource this one.
Yeah, we'll outsource this, but at Adam Entertainment, we take your demo, we pair you with the probably the Shockwave.com casual games audience, and serve video advertising and integrated sponsorship there. If you're going after a young male demo, we package something on Adam Films around video advertising in front of comedy, animation clips, cutting edge new talent. the real question I think you're getting to is what do you do when you get out of that programmed environment? And there's this free-for-all with people just uploading whatever they want, whenever they want, as much as they want. With the potential that there's some infringing content there, with the potential that there's some offensive content there, and as we've seen in some of the user-generated content sponsored scenarios, the potential for somebody to take a major brand like a GM and just blatantly make fun of it in the middle of an advertising campaign, that's really scaring a lot of advertisers right now. So what you have to do in user-generated content is create some programmed zones or some controlled zones where where brands can have access to this dynamism and this enthusiasm that user-generated content is inciting, with protections that make sure their brand message is going to get across intact.
Eric?
There are two ways. Sorry.
Okay, hey, let me just take Eric real quick.
I mean, there are two ways to give this pitch to advertisers, and we've built sites that are very advertiser friendly, so we think about this a lot.
What makes it advertising friendly?
Well, with our sites, if you go to Stupid Videos, it's comedy content of a certain type. If you go to Grind TV, it's action sports content, it's MTV for action sports. And advertisers prefer to affiliate their brands, in my experience, and I've sold advertising for a fair amount of time, prefer to affiliate their brands with things that resonate for that brand. So you put your video up on YouTube and you do a pre-roll ad campaign and it shows up next to somebody dancing around and with a swastika branded to their chest, and that's not good. But if you put it in a place where you're not worried about inappropriate adjacency, which is a term that's being thrown around the advertising agency, you can say this is safe but powerful. On Stupid Videos or Pure Video sites, for example, we get thousands and thousands of submissions like Rever. We get about 5,000 a month on Stupid Videos, which is minuscule compared to YouTube. Most of them are funny, however, and a good portion of them are usable. But we also review with a human for programming standards. A, it doesn't grossly infringe copyright, and B, it's PG-13. And I can look at an advertiser and say, your ad will never run in front of anything that would damage your brand. By the way, a brand that you've probably spent that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars if they're a good advertiser.
And this is video ads, or are you doing banner ads?
We do video pre-roll, we do banners, we do integrated sponsorships, we do all the same things that media destinations do. And so the one message you can say is, hey, user-generated content can be as safe as regular advertising, but incredibly powerful because you're wrapped around the content, the user can participate in the content, your product can be in the content, all those things. There's a second pitch, which is it's incredibly powerful and incredibly risky. And that's a different way of doing user gen, and that's we're going to let your brand be part of this content, and we're going to put it on the peer-to-peer networks, and we're going to let it go, and we're going to let people touch it. And you have to be a very brave advertiser who's very confident about your brand, or you end up in the GM situation. Either pitch to an advertiser can work. It really depends on who you're talking to and what their objectives are.
But it's important. We have to know the pitch to them because that's what's going to keep you guys, some of you in business.
Let me go a different way with this, though, which is the problem that advertisers face right now. If you look at the usage of a MySpace, of a YouTube, of LiveJournal, of any of these services, I mean, it's hours a day. And when you subtract 24 minus sleep, minus school, minus usage on the average basis, these kids are not doing anything else. I mean, they're not watching TV, they're not reading newspapers or magazines, and so if you need to reach that audience, you have no choice. You have to make this work. I mean, we have to help them, and we have to do some of the things that are being talked about here. The advertisers are also going to have to meet us at least halfway and understand that, yes, there are things we can prevent, but there's also, it's a new world, and if you want to reach this audience, you have to be in these tools.
Got it. Please stand up. What is your name and what company are you with? And yell it.
How do you gather the demographic information about your customers for your advertisers?
Let's go to Google. I want to take Google on this one.
Okay.
Peter?
How are we gathering demographic information about our users?
And then Rever, yes, go ahead.
Right now we're not, quite honestly, in Google
Nice.
Video. And wait, let me, and let me just say, I think the answer to this is putting the advertiser in control. Advertisers, obviously we have relationships with a lot of advertisers. They come to us, say, how do we participate in Google Video? In many cases, we offer them free promotion of videos. They upload their commercials. They get a ridiculous number of playbacks for free, and they're very excited about it because users are sharing them around and so forth. And for advertising on content, we give advertisers the option. If you want to advertise on user-generated content, we'll show you our user-generated content. If you want to advertise on it, we'll think of a way to sponsor it. And then obviously we have a lot of premium content that allow advertisers. For instance, HP decided to advertise with Charlie Rose and make that free. They thought that was more appropriate for their brand and their image, and we'll give them that. So I think it's really just putting the advertiser in control And if you want to advertise on user-generated content, just the advertiser needs to know what they're getting themselves into.
Absolutely. There's a few chairs up here, by the way, if anybody wants to come up here. And let's, real quick, how would you answer the question also?
Yeah, so we have a very novel approach to all of this. Because we've put in these systems in place to kind of monitor the business and monitor the content coming in, we have this technology that we've been working on for the last 2 years, which is when the video plays, it actually beacons back to a server and says, I'm being watched. It creates a unique session, and then an ad is delivered in real time to that video while it's being played. So when you talk about demographic information, what we can do is marry the affiliate sites that are using the content, their demographic information, with the video file itself. So you might be watching the same video in iTunes and have an ad served, because we serve ads in iTunes, or you might be watching it on a download in a certain part of the world, or you might be watching it through, a social network or a blog. And so based upon both the content of the video and now the context of the video through an affiliation system, we can then target that ad specifically for that session.
Okay.
And then that's really important, because then you get into fraud and all of the other things that are associated with it, and how do you protect yourself from that. So we looked at it and we said, look, this has got to be the most open system available. You've got to be able to download it. You've got to be able to hyperlink it. You've got to be able to, grab codes and all of those things. And the same mechanism must operate under all of those contexts.
Got it.
Context.
What is your name, sir? What company?
Hi, Ken Hoffman. I'm with my own company. I'm from the investment side. There seems to be a gigantic chasm in this world where we're looking at businesses, they're advertising revenue based. Yet there's no metrics really on the internet for advertising, for traditional advertisers. Procter & Gamble is a perfect example. So, what's up to you? And what are you guys doing to kind of reach out proactively to these advertisers and say, hey, get comfortable with what we're doing? Because, they're used to seeing things from Nielsen, and there's a whole world they're used to.
Standard rating, CPM.
Yeah, we sell on a CPC basis right
How
now.
are you doing things to get them comfortable? Because it's your whole revenue.
Let's go with Jason.
It's interesting. I think you would find for most advertisers the promise of the internet has been a fundamentally better set of metrics and measurements than you have in the traditional media space, because of the interactivity and because of the feedback loops. So, Yahoo serves tens of millions, hundreds of millions of video ads on a monthly basis. We do that with the same kind of, you asked about demographics, we have for every registered logged in user, classic demographics as well as behavioral targets. So we know not only are they a 34-year-old male, who maybe has given us their zip code information, we also know if they've registered and people are fully aware that, that they also just visited Yahoo Finance and Yahoo Autos and other things like that. And so that, for certain types of the classic advertisers is extremely powerful. And there's a full suite of campaign metrics. They know exactly how many impressions they've been given, what their effective CPMs have been, and depending on the type of the ad, there can even then be sort of action-oriented feedback. Did they click out? Did they refer off to another site? I think what's interesting about video and video ads is it's really the opportunity to marry the classic sort of brand building impression type advertising, which they have historically had, rating points, CPMs, et cetera, with a performance-based feedback. So not only can you show a great, emotional branded ad from Nike, you can also have a clickable element in the ad or next to the ad that drives them to a specific promotion.
Jason, are the advertisers coming to you? Are they coming to you, or are you?
Yeah, the buzz in this space is that everybody's sold out, right? That the advertisers want more, right? I think of the right kind of inventory, it's absolutely true, right? The advertisers have, the single largest advertising medium out there today is broadcast, or TV, cable, et cetera. They have hundreds, thousands, millions of hours of what they consider to be the top of the pyramid of advertising, right? Which is the true emotional brand building. And what they've always said is, the internet is great for the performance-based advertising, which it is. It is absolutely what's changed, sort of the game for advertisers. But the advertisers are still waiting for the medium in which they can, quote, truly build their brand in that emotional way, and that's what they want. And I think it's this combination of whether it's a pre-roll, it's an interstitial, or in many cases, the ad becomes the content. Think about those BMW mini movies, right, which were effectively those 60-second and 3-minute and 5-minute ads. that I'd put up there alongside all the popular user-generated content. I mean, it's short, it's a clip, it's engaging, it's funny. They had a little bit of a reverence to them. It's a great ad, and people are going to pay to watch it. Pay in the sense.
Andrew, you want to add something to that?
No, I think it was fine. I mean, again, I don't. Maybe
Andrew's going to blog a big thumbs up for you.
I mean, again, I would probably turn the question around and say that arguably the tools we have in interactive media are far better than the tools in radio and television and newspaper and all the other media. And so, I think if anything, you're going to see a movement for the other media using things like TiVo and other types of technologies to do better and do a closer job to what we can do with the types of advertising tracking we're able.
How many people here?
I think there's one other point that I found fascinating, and I'm thinking about it a lot actually over this weekend, is that we now have this moment in time where all of the kind of resources that exist in computing are now capturing moments in time. Not just like instants in time, but moments in time. And so when you've got this kind of three-dimensional view of the world, the ability for a brand or for someone trying to reach an audience is now just exponentially more powerful. Because you do have this moment in time. I mean, I know I'm probably crazy and think about it visually, but it's like you have this loaf of time that you is all in slices. And it's like you can then place yourself inside of these places and then beacon back and say, hey, this is what's happening. This is now, the message I want to send. I can view it, I can see it, et cetera. So I think that's really fascinating. And I think we're on the cusp of something really, truly, you marry something like Google's power of search with that type of content and that type of context, and it's really pretty amazing what's about to happen.
Let's grab a question. What is your name and your company?
Nick Klein from Matrix Partners. So continuing Oliver's metaphor, looking further down the road, what's the ability to be accessible in an online video site? If you assume that free video of good quality is going to have broad distribution, and then branded videos can seek wide distribution, what's most defensible?
Peter?
We don't think it's the portal. We absolutely don't. And so we're about to do something I think that's really cool, which is completely open up our system. And so you'll see in the near future that we thought there are like 180 video sharing sites right now, but there are millions of blogs. And so we're just going to open it up and say, hey, you want to make a business? Come to us. If you've got context, which is ultimately what becomes important in this game, then come to us. And so we want to see millions of these video portals with upload and with monetization and with categorization flourish. And so you'll see we've been working now kind of in secret or whatever for 9 months.
What is it? What's the secret? Just give us the raw.
It's that we are going to open up an open API and it's all open source, and we're going to.
I want every one of you to tell us a secret. I love it. Thanks, Oliver, for starting this trend.
Secret.
I'm starting a band called Loafing Time.
Yeah.
That's my secret.
Love that name.
I want to.
You're going to be copyright infringing.
You all heard it here. I look at it, and naturally, because Oliver's running a business that's fundamentally providing a service that monetizes for content creators, I completely understand his perspective. I think that the direction is interesting. I think that portals and destinations are defensible because I think that even if distribution in some theoretical future becomes unlimited, mind share is limited and resources are limited. So you can't have infinite free distribution because nobody makes any money and we all have to go home because we don't live in utopia. And you can't have consumers so confused about where everything is because everything's everywhere that they can't find anything. So places where consumers can go and conserve mind share because they get what they want when they want it. And whether that's Google because their search algorithms become incredibly powerful, or it's Yahoo because Yahoo Music and Yahoo Sports and Yahoo Games are fantastic properties, or whether it's stupid videos because you get 10 minutes of concentrated stupid and you love that, those things will rise to the top. And this ever-expanding long tail will continue to generate, one play per site over 62 billion sites, and nobody will make businesses out of that piece of it.
Those are eddies in the loaf.
Yeah.
Peter?
I think the consumer need now is you need really one place to go to find all video, and there isn't that place right now. There's videos on Super Videos, there's videos on YouTube, there's videos on Google Video. The rate of duplication across those sites is probably very, very high. When I go to our site and I go to other sites and see that they have that video, everyone seems to have the same videos for the most part. I think you really need one site, say, here are all the videos in the world. We're going to make sure that we don't show you 1,000 different versions of the same video. We need to make sure we deliver an experience that actually works on your computer. There's still a problem with video on the internet where a lot of it simply doesn't play. My computer, for instance, is a Windows computer, just won't play QuickTime videos. I don't know why. And
Apple, Microsoft. Okay.
Yeah. I think it could be my own personal problem rather than Apple's.
Hey, by the way,
Microsoft's
I'm a
problem.
big Star Trek guy, and I typed in Star Trek, and obviously the new video button's right up there now. And when I went in there, it first showed me all the premium content right away under video. So all the things I would want to buy for $1.99 if I would want to watch the old series. And then I had to scroll for a while to start seeing the user-generated or the uploaded videos regarding Star Trek. Is there any way to actually delineate between saying premium, user,
So
something like that?
we're not, sort of the belief that we should delineate. We think we should just have a set of ranking criteria that's unbiased and show things to users, in a ranked way that sort of represents relevance.
Yeah, but actually the
for
show
Star
out
Trek-
of Finland is more popular on, and I did the search today, on Yahoo, or on Yahoo over Google, but you have premium content over there. It seems like you're putting your content that you're getting paid for above what's actually more popular.
We actually don't, believe it or not. And it's much to the chagrin of some of the media companies. We don't weight premium content higher in any kind of search results. The chances are our ranking for that query is just bad,
Okay.
And we should fix it. There's no reason why all the Star Trek $1.99 things should be at the top. They're probably in many cases the least relevant for what users are looking for because you wanted something free. So that's simply something we should fix. But I think getting back to your point about what's defensible in here, I think the next thing that's defensible and something that we've introduced recently with our announcement with MTV is we really think that video needs to be all over the web. We're going out to our AdSense network, which is a very strong and large growing network of websites, and saying, we already have ads on your site, and we're going to help you monetize your site. Wouldn't you like to get relevant video content on your site, which we think will also drive a lot of usage to a website, especially if it's interesting video content like MTV and so forth. And then we could attach monetization to that.
Okay.
So we think that the combination of those things will really make video a default data type on the web, and simply make video on everyone's site. Just like today, you put AdSense on your site if you want to serve ads, and it's a very simple thing. We want to get to the point where you will put video on your website just as a default behavior.
Fair enough. What is your name, sir, and what's your company?
Tom Coughlin, Coughlin Associates.
Got it.
And the question I had was just how atomistic can this content be? And what can the infrastructure support? For instance, could everybody be recording their lives, basically have that available?
Yeah, with Google, we believe this is a scale problem with video. We want to index and serve all the world's video. There are people who upload large amounts of video every single day. We have unlimited uploads, so you can upload as much video as you want. You don't have to do 100 megabytes or 10 minutes or anything like this. We have people that upload, gigabytes and gigabytes. We have people that drive to Google with carloads of hard disks and say, "Can I please put this video online?" And we'll say, "Okay, we'll work with you." We do all sorts of crazy stuff to get video online, and yeah, there are people that simply digitize a large amount of their life and upload it, and we're happy to host it and index it and search over it and serve it right back.
Scott, we don't have e-video everywhere. We're not all totally Wi-Fi, WiMAX. So we still have our iPods, our portable media devices. And a lot of the content we're talking about, you have to be physically connected to the net to see. I know you could buy some of the stuff through Google. How do you take it on the go now, a lot of this content?
Well, in the last year, you've seen the rise of the video iPod, you've seen the PSP, and that's the advent of true portability for entertainment. Mobile services, the carriers kind of have the death grip on mobile entertainment right now. We're working with VCast, they're doing some interesting things. I know Stupid Videos has done some interesting things direct, but the market's not quite ready for a critical mass of connected consumers to get mobile entertainment direct from sites.
Because why, the DRM? Is it because the DRM on the content side is not there to protect it as it moves from the PC or
DRM is a huge issue. That's probably the reason or the main reason why Sony doesn't have an iTunes yet, because they're trying to figure out their DRM. It's a huge issue.
Okay.
We allow podcasting both into iTunes, where we do serve ads, and on the iPod we don't serve ads because of fraud. Because if Apple opened up Fair Play, then you could actually register information in a secure environment and then pass it back to an application. But our videos can be played on an iPod. You just don't monitor.
I wanted to say, anyone here have a podcast? Who here does a podcast? Okay, a few of you. I'd like some of you don't want to really raise your hand. But it's important because on the content side, what I really like about streaming content, and I had this discussion yesterday, and that is, I know when someone's listening or watching because it's a stream. And when it's done. Meaning if somebody watches 2 minutes and it's a 5-minute clip, the content holder, like on iTunes, only pays for that 2 minutes of bandwidth. Where a podcast, the entire chunk is uploaded and sitting on their computer or their iPod. And I don't know if it's been listened to, I just know it's been downloaded. And as a content provider, a lot of the podcasts, they have to pay for that download.
Yeah, we report back and say it's been watched, and say an ad has been delivered every time.
On the iPod.
We find it on iTunes, not
on iTunes, but on the iPod.
Unless Apple opens it up.
So what's the question?
Well, the question is, a lot of content providers are being popularized out of existence because their bandwidth costs go up so great. And I'm not sure if you notice, a lot of podcasters, and this is user-generated content, they're having a hard time monetizing the podcast because a lot of the advertisers want to say, hey, what's your listeners? How many listeners, not downloaders, how many listeners do you have? Because there doesn't seem to be really good reporting tools. And it might be because of Apple.
So it's interesting. Most of all the video that's served on Yahoo today, and you're getting into an interesting technical differentiation today, is true streaming. So the vast majority of the the upload-oriented sites do progressive download, which has exactly the dynamic you described, and it has some benefits, of course. But it's true. The whole thing gets downloaded. There's no way to actually know how much was played, et cetera. Mainly because of our experience with the rights holders that we license content from for sites like music and news and TV.
But you have a big podcast at Yahoo.com. It's pretty popular.
It's not a hosting site.
Right.
So podcast, it just
directory
directs back to the original sort of host. In the case of video, the content is streamed directly from Yahoo, but which gives us the ability to do the kind of measurement that you're talking about.
But it starts showing you that a content holder, if they want to participate in that advertising market, you guys have tools which work great on the video side. But on the blogging side, you have the tools. But on a podcaster, which it may not be a huge market, the tools on measurement aren't completely there on the actual listener.
And I don't know how that problem is going to be solved. Eventually somebody may create some magic that allows for tracking. We've done.
Every VC wants to fund magic.
Well, I wouldn't fund a company like that. But there is a way to get to recognize or communicate value. We did something with an advertiser recently where you could download original content that we had produced for this specific campaign. It was downloaded. You don't know what happens to it after it's downloaded. But in this instance, we said, hey, remember print buying? That was cool, print. There was a pass-along rate of 3 for every magazine that a subscriber took. So let's assume that a download has a pass-along of 3 and say that that's how many impressions were roughly delivered. And since this is a test and you're not paying a lot of money, that's interesting. Now, I don't think you can go backwards forever and do that. But I do think that if your business is podcasting, and you want to represent value to advertisers, you have to work with them, is the point, to come up with what is the value of creating and distributing this content in download, and how are we going to agree to measure it either over time or for this specific campaign.
But that's all about, that's this whole moment is about how do we capture the long tail, right? And so the dancing baby is still a popular cultural meme. It's still one of the more searched on videos because that's something people know. Right, and so it's like that thing has been around 12 years. It was popularized with Ally McBeal and others, but the creator of that never made. I assume they got licensed for Ally McBeal, but they never made any money off the online of it. It exists everywhere. But our kind of philosophy is, if you had reverized it, then you would still be making money off of it. So there is no pass-along rate or viral factor like in the print world. There's an actual real statistic that you can, because a dynamic ad is.
But we're talking about a piece of content that's now on a device that's not connected, so you can't measure
it.
And if Trevor can do that, then I'm going to buy your stock.
You lose those.
You do. It's true. You lose.
My stock is not for sale.
I know.
No, not yet. Hey, but this is interesting. So you're compensating the content creator on uploading. You guys have a lot of money. How are you compensating us? Peter.
So we really believe that a number of parties should be compensated in video distribution. In certain cases, we think the content creator should receive ad revenue, and
Okay.
we do that with Charlie Rose. We are also starting to do it with smaller content creators. The people that make these viral videos that take more than a weekend and make a really strong viral video. We want to make sure we compensate those people. We also think that, and our MTV deal is sort of the first step in this, that when a video is distributed online, that there should be a three-way rev share. That the revenue really should be split between the website it's on, the content creator, and maybe a small amount for.
I mean, you're talking about some high-end videos, by the way. I mean, let's face it. The two guys out in China that lip syncing to a song became extremely popular. Would that even have any form of revenue opportunities with Google?
That's an interesting case because of the music there. I think the people who make that music, when you ask them about it, they're like, "This is great." The band, the Backstreet Boys, got a sort of another life. When that video came out, and
Labs fans speaking on people.
It's
Yeah, I think that's what gave me.
right. I mean, and they actually seem to be very supportive of it. It's unclear if those two Chinese guys deserve the money for that, because a lot of that video was based on someone else's music. But if there is a video, and we've seen a lot of these that are originally produced, where either someone licenses the rights to the video or they just do it on their own, we think they definitely should be compensated.
You're in the search for that, actually.
Our Mentos.
Yeah, we actually are. We are.
Mentos. I mean,
The Mentos, they made over $30,000 on our system. But it was interesting because and that was in like a 3-week period, and that's their cut of the revenue. Plus, we have an affiliation program that affiliates also make money off this system. But it was interesting because at the same time, those guys were fighting the larger guys, larger video hosting companies, to try to remove that content because they saw a moment in time where they were popular. They were the viral it at that moment. And so I think that it gets back to copyright. I think that something's got to give. And it already is. It's like this weird kind of, well, we really can't screen our content, but if you market with us, we'll be happy to take all those down proactively. But it's like this weird thing that's happening where these guys now have to write letters, they have to send, the DMCA compliance, they have to say, please take down my content. 58 times they wrote those letters. And it's a matter of time. Some people responded, some people didn't. And so when you have that moment in time that you're popular and people aren't responding to you, then they've stolen from you.
Got it.
Right, and that's really the way I think. And I'm one of the most liberal people I think I've ever met. But when you get to copyright stuff, it's like you really are damaging an industry when you have that behavior. And I think we saw it in the music business, and people don't even. I don't even think they realize. And it's like Web 2.0 is the same as 1.0, the same players, the same villains, the same heroes.
Different loaf of bread.
Pardon me? Different loaf of bread.
Scott?
It's three-dimensional this time.
We all know the big media companies are using this as a promotional tool, and they'll make some money as an ancillary distribution channel for their big content. And we know there are a lot of people doing mashups and pirating clips and distributing them on these networks, and they're not going to make money off of that activity. But I think it gets really interesting when you look at the user type in the middle of those two examples, the independent creator, the amateur creator, who's actually done something, has the potential to go on and have a career, make some money from the content. They're a little bit caught in the crossfire here in terms of user-generated content services, friend or foe. Had an anecdote from actually Thursday and Friday last week. One of our filmmakers, a woman named Ari Lee, she created this film called Me. She took a photograph of herself every week for 5 years.
For 5 years, so it's amazing.
Really interesting film, a little experimental film. It's doing nice numbers, hundreds of thousands of plays on Atom Films, and she's going to make thousands of dollars
that
off
came
that
from
activity.
you? That was initially placed with you?
Yes.
Because it's on YouTube and everywhere else.
This is the anecdote. So she sees it gets pirated from her. She sees it on YouTube. She actually went to the YouTube offices on Friday, got accosted by security, made her way through, and sat down with them and asked them, explained that actually they're taking money from her and that she asked that it be removed. And actually, there's a happy ending to this story. They kind of struck a deal where they created a short promotional trailer for the film on our site, driving some more plays and driving some more money into her pocket. So there are ways that this stuff can work together. But to Oliver's point, if she hadn't been close enough to San Mateo to go to their offices, it would have been days, weeks. That moment in time would have passed. It's an interesting problem for a lot of creators.
There's a few seats up here, by the way. If anybody wants to come up here, I'm not sure if you want to sit back there. Gentleman right there, a white shirt. What is your name? What company?
We've been dancing around this topic of monetization, so I want to give the panel a chance to really educate the audience here. So, point blank question: in dollar terms, what's a page each of you work for you guys?
Nice. I like that. You want to take it? Go ahead, Eric.
For our more powerful properties, the revenue per 1,000 page views on a property can be 10, 11, 12 bucks, right? Depending, like Grind, which is very targeted and very specific, and you can have a higher ad density because the content's a little longer. Stupid videos is significantly less than that. And it can be, like, if we're really going well, will be about 5 bucks. And the more targeted and specific your property is, the higher the RPM is going to be. But what I really, this is my soapbox moment. This is my loaf moment.
It's all yours.
When I talk to investors or people, yeah, thanks, Jason. There seems to be this grouping of what are essentially user utilities, video utilities, along with media properties. And everybody talks about them because there are viral clips on them or because there's some user-generated content on them as if they're the same thing and they'll monetize in the same way. Utilities, YouTube is a utility. It facilitates the ability to upload anything and have it, and now they're going to try and do this massive pivot because they have a huge audience and say, surprise, we're a media company. And there'll be all of this rigmarole and then trying to be a media company where you can serve ads and the ads are in appropriate places and you respect copyright and everybody gets paid, and that'll be interesting to watch. Other people were media companies. Adam Films is a media company. They have a much smaller audience that monetizes at a much higher rate, that grows much less aggressively, but the growth you do get is monetizable growth. Yahoo, of all the companies up here, and I'm going to make Jason my friend now, has understood this for a long time. They have utilities that aggregate audience, mail, search, whatever, groups, right? They have destinations, Yahoo Music, Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Finance, that monetize at a high rate. And by melding those together expertly, they have a fantastic company that is both a media and services company. But when you're evaluating a company, either because you're writing an article about it or partnering with it or investing in it, and it's in the user gen space, you really should be thinking of it, in my opinion, in those two buckets. Is it a utility or is it a media destination? And then start making decisions about whether it's a good business or not and whether it's growing at the appropriate rate, and so forth.
Oliver, what's the number?
We sell on a CPC basis. We only monetize video. We don't do page views. And we sell right now between 75 cents and $1 a click. And we have between a 3 and 4% click-through rate.
And what do you share with the
across? We share 50-50 with the creator, although if the creator syndicates it, they get up to 60%. So it's an effective CPM of between $22.50 and $40.
So and
they have to watch the entire video because we do post-roll ads. So they have to watch the entire video. However, we are about to do some relatively cool announcements.
Like what?
Premium content. I can't, I've already told you.
Come on, 2 secrets.
Come on, I'm like, no.
You're liberal. Tell us more.
I will just tell you that there are people out there that own studio-based content that find our mechanism of distribution, respecting the creator, and monetizing that video attractive. So what we can do then is we're introducing new ad products that kind of fit their model more. We really believe that user-generated content, you should not have to be put through a pre-roll or any type of ad like that until it moves up to kind of premium status. And so if you are the Zayfranks of the world, or E.B. Bird, or Ask a Ninja, who have all kind of come to our network to monetize it, then they kind of say, I'm a brand now, I'm kind of a burgeoning star, so maybe I have a 3-second pre-play brought to you by a brand with then an ad, then a video ad, maybe.
I would wonder why a lot of the popular videos that are sitting on iTunes that are not attached to a network, why wouldn't they be in an environment with you to where they can actually get paid?
I think you might see that happening.
Is that the secret?
I think you might see things. Well, we can advertise inside of iTunes, which is neat, right? Because we have both QuickTime and we'll
when are you announcing the Apple deal? Generally, we do this over a few drinks, and then I'm able to get all the information.
Yeah, clearly, just wind me up.
There I
go.
We have a question over here. What is your name and your company?
David Murphy, Retail Entertainment Design. And we've touched on music video a couple times, and that's not really user-generated, but what's the future of music video on the web through different portals or just kind of available now?
I think it's interesting. I think music videos on the web have gone through a couple of different iterations, and I expect you'll see more to come. Initially, music videos on the web were free, right? I mean, you saw they were basically, out there. They were free. They were free oftentimes to the providers because they were promotional for the song, right? And that's if you actually think about one of the original roles. As music videos themselves became, more entertainment-oriented in and of themselves, you actually saw a lot of the music videos, the studios actually seek to get licensing revenue for the videos themselves. And I think, a couple of the music studios have been out in front doing that. One of the interesting questions now is, there's a big push back towards free because frankly, we actually did some analysis and looked at the top music videos on Yahoo Music, the ones that are most played, where there is a licensing relationship, and almost every single one of them is available for free somewhere else on the web, rightly or wrongly. And the music studios are now rethinking this whole question of what's the trade-off between the promotional value of those music videos relative to people buying the songs somewhere, et cetera. And so I think what you'll start to see is you'll definitely see some experimentation around different forms of the music video, maybe a lower end, shorter clip, the full version available in premium, linkages to actually buying the song. Or, I think it would be a very interesting day before you sort of saw, aggressive advertising, in and around the music videos, and the video itself is, is a form of promotion. So I think that the music folks are probably thinking about this in terms of what they learned through the whole music downloading and where they tried to hold that back, maybe to their own sort of, disservice in the long run, and they'll figure out how to make it promotional. I think one of the other things I would say is, the music videos are really interesting because they are, they are a great format for experimentation. So all the lip syncing, all the remixing, those people who do that, oftentimes they're making fun of the songs, but oftentimes those are people who are really, quote, engaging with the product. And a lot of the discussion today has been around how do we translate directly traditional forms of advertising, the 30-second pre-roll, the 15-second pre-roll, even the banner ad, which is essentially, kind of a post-roll sort of rapid clip into a video. And I think, the first forms of TV ads were radio jingles on TV, and they didn't work very well. I think what we're always to see is how do we create totally new forms of ads that are appropriate for this new form of content.
So I think I grabbed enough video, because I know Victor is video recording this, or whatever you call it now, capturing it. And he probably might sell it, put an advertiser around it. I'm grabbing a lot of it right now, and I'm going to stick it on my own blog. And I'm wondering, am I infringing on any form of copyright right now?
Well, I'm certainly not a lawyer, but not as far as I know.
No, so I could do that? So I could start capturing content. Now, would this make it through your censor? Like, for example, let's just say I sit over at, a TV show, and I start capturing what's being recorded on the TV show by being in the audience. Would that make it through your filter system and become popular? Would you allow that type of content, that type of user-generated content to be up there behind the scenes, but not actually from the networks?
So, we're doing, our method of sort of protecting copyright, and we take this very seriously with copyright holders because, and I think Google's history has been very, very protective of copyright holders, very respectful of copyright holders over the years. In terms of uploading someone, taking a video of a TV show being
or of a conference, because we're starting to see conferences pop up.
We see a lot of that, and people seem to do it. And if someone has a problem and they do report to us, we take it down.
You're quick. Quick to take it down.
And we take it down. We respect that stuff. With this kind of thing, we've had some people appear in videos inadvertently that they're uncomfortable with. And therefore, we respect that, and we either remove the videos or we get back to the content creator and say, hey, there's a problem here. Why don't you guys just take care of it offline? And when you resolve it, we'll bring the video back online and so forth.
Mel Gibson video. I'm being serious. I'm not sure if people watch all these videos.
I think there is sort of a newfound realization with the internet where a lot of our information is more and more public. And becoming public. The fact I'm speaking up here and you're going to post this online, was that my expectation today? No. But the fact that you're doing it is not so revolutionary to me anymore, and the fact I'll have it online and so forth is that revolutionary. And I think people are getting more and more comfortable with the fact that more and more of their lives are, becoming public, and some people are not. For instance, there's been videos of other people's children posted on Google, not maliciously, just because they were in the background or something like that. And the parents have said, can you please take this down? I'm really uncomfortable with this, and we take it down and so forth. So I think there is sort of a fine line between, privacy and, and making information public. And I think, all of us, in the world need to recognize this and either take precautions with our own content, or make sure that we look at these sites and we make sure that if there is something we're uncomfortable with, we make sure it's taken down.
We know Microsoft's not here, YouTube's not up here, but let's, like Jon Stewart, I want to use that real quick. If I missed Jon Stewart last night and I didn't record it, I would generally have to go to a peer-to-peer network and download it. First I have to search for it. If I find it, I have to download it. It might take, 15, 20 minutes. And then I would have to play it and see if it is exactly what I want. Now on the sites, I can type Jon Stewart, and my instantaneous gratification, satisfaction's there, because there it is and I can watch it. The question really is the RIAA, the MPAA, all these trade groups barking up the wrong tree by going after peer-to-peer? Should they start changing their scope and look at the user-generated content sites?
I think there is something to be said about Jon Stewart, where you're a fan of Jon Stewart. You really want to watch Jon Stewart. You missed it on your TiVo, and you simply want to get access to it. And the fact that you can't get access to it is really frustrating to you as a user. And you may want to send it to a friend and introduce them to Jon Stewart. So I think there is a new realization among content creators that putting more of their content online, maybe not full-form content for free, but putting clips of it online is actually a positive, not a negative. And I think we're seeing more and more of that, where content creators are coming to us and saying, we want our clips to be online.
I got it, but music videos.
I think it's fascinating because music videos now were a promotional tool, and then they had these deals with Yahoo and others where it was kind of like a sub-penny per view, pay me for this. And now they're like, the music videos should be monetized completely.
Absolutely.
It should be advertising supported, or it should be paid for. So I don't see how Hollywood or TV land or whatever you want to call it in general is real excited about content that they pay an exorbitant amount of money to produce and create and pay for the stars and do all of that, going up, and it's not just in clip form, it's in long form now. It's pretty much everywhere, right? I think everybody knows that. And so in the case of Jon Stewart, I don't know. I would assume that the producers of that show are not thrilled about the fact, maybe the stars of the show are because they become more popular, but the people that are monetizing it are probably not thrilled that the ads are stripped out and that it's floating around the internet.
See, I totally disagree. Jon Stewart is not trying to get you to buy a TV. He's trying to get you to watch his show.
But he wants to keep his job, and advertisers are the ones that fund him.
And it's still much better to watch on a nice TV, which happens to have commercials, than it is in that video. If you said, I want to watch every single Jon Stewart on YouTube, okay, you're probably not a good person to advertise to anyway. But on the other hand, really what you want to do is you want to fill in. And when you want to fill in, these things are great. It attaches you more to the brand. Again, I'll go back to another Jon Stewart event. More people watched Crossfire for the first time when he went and did that little segment there. And that's sampling. That's the best advertisement you could get.
Absolutely.
If you were CNN trying to get that
got
many
him
people,
fired from CNN, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it did. But if you were CNN trying to get that many people, especially in that demographic, to watch Crossfire, you could have done a better job than to get Jon Stewart to do that.
What's his name he went against on Crossfire?
Tucker.
Did you know he's on Dancing with the Stars? He's one of the contestants. What's your name, sir, in your company?
I like what you said about promotion. Wouldn't it be better if these video sites have permission of these content creators rather than simply assuming that they want this content promotion?
So I don't want to defend copyright infringement because we actually take a stand against it. But when someone uploads video and signs a release that says, I have all the rights to do this, and I have seen video uploaded from ad agencies and Warner Brothers, it gets done, and it is almost impossible for me to say, you're not who you say you are, until someone tells me that wasn't who they said they were.
Right.
If I'm a 14-year-old kid from Des Moines uploading to a computer, I pretty much...
Well, if you're a registered user that's 14 years old and you're uploading Jon Stewart, that's a pretty good call that it's not there. And that's why what we do is you can upload anything you want, but a human being decides if it's going to be programmed and watched and advertised against. But when you look at people who are more utilities based or unstructured like the YouTubes, they're not doing that, and they're taking a stand that says, hey, okay, it's really going to come down to the content owners though, and that's what's coming. The music video guys get big checks from Yahoo and AOL and MSN for that penny a play or sub-penny a play thing. That's a revenue stream. They also sell records. They got marketing departments with limited budgets that want to tap into YouTube. They got compliance departments that want to sue YouTube. Until they speak with one voice and say, you know what, a classic example is Lost. So you can go and you can watch Lost on TV and they make a lot of money. Or they sell that, I'm sure at some point they'll sell that to affiliates, and the affiliates want to make money. Then they put it on their website, and they want to sell the ads against it on their website. Then it gets up on YouTube, and YouTube wants to monetize. At some point they have to say, here's how it's going to monetize, and you're either going to play right or you're going to get sued, but no one's made that decision yet. So no one kind of knows what's going to happen.
Actually, there was an interesting study by Nielsen Analytics. Larry Gerbrandt wrote about how much Lost and these shows that are on iTunes makes compared to traditional broadcast. And it's actually more on the download side, to where the guesstimation is on television for like Lost or Desperate Housewives, but something like 32 cents per viewer.
Right.
And then if you look at iTunes, who takes 20%, they're making $1.60 being ABC for that show. It's not the same masses, but it actually generates more on a download environment. Let's take a question over here. What's your name, sir, and company?
Matthew Lucas, I'm an analyst that covers the billing industry for telecom operators. My question actually picks up on one of Peter's points. You said that basically you see three people being compensated in the value chain: the content creator, the website that hosts it, and I think Google would be the third. At what point, if ever, does the telecom operators become part of that revenue share equation?
I think that telecom operators, some of them have, sort of walled garden models. And in that case, they're controlling their environment and so forth. Like, I think this is, sort of commonplace these days in wireless and so forth. I think also if in the case of a telecom operator as a content provider or content distributor, there could be an actually interesting model there for the telcos. But these days, we're really focused on the rights holders and the sites where those videos appear. And we think that's where the most of the value will be created.
Question over here, name and company?
Mark McKenzie from Bernstein. So I think a lot of, at the moment, online video is coming kind of out of experimental budgets of the ad agencies. And if that moves beyond that, where J&J says, look, I want to $100 million online, how do they do that across the universe when it seems like some of the ads are pre-roll, some are post-roll, some are the whole ad viewed, some of the ads not viewed at all, some of the click? Where do you think we get from a measurement and standard point of view? It seems to be beginning to evolve.
I think there's going to be a standardization process that'll happen, through the IAB. That will be, I think, the things you just mentioned: pre-play, pre-roll, post-play, post-roll, interstitial. Right? Those are kind of the 5 products.
There already is. I mean,
yeah.
If you're buying right now, Yahoo and MSN and AOL have the standard unit. It's a 15-second or 30-second pre-roll with an adjacent 300 by 250 and or other leave-behind unit. So that's what you're buying if you're a standard. If you're Starcom or Ogilvy, that's what you buy, and everything else is an experiment. But they do an upfront already, so there is some money going, and it's mostly experimental, but there is some money coming in the standard way, and that's what you buy when you buy the standard way. The other stuff is the experimental stuff.
Guys, we have to wrap this up. A few minutes. I want you to give me, it's amazing, because if we did this panel a year ago, we would never predict where we're at today. There's no way. But what I want you to do is I want you, each company yourself, you kind of have your 1-year goal where you see yourself. In this area, don't say where Yahoo's going to be overall, but your specific area. Kind of give me an idea 1 year from now, and wrap it up in a minute, each one of you. Andrew?
But with that setup, why is anybody going to believe what we're saying?
Well, you know what? No one would believe last year either.
You told me you could predict the future.
Fantasy world.
So I'm going to go a little bit of a different way. We've talked a lot about sort of content providers and sort of this idea of how can we replicate mainstream media online. I think where we see it going as a blogging company is actually, I mean, that's all going to happen, and that's great. The vast bulk of the world does not want to be a content creator. They want to share things with their family and their friends. And the types of tools we're building have actually different types of tools, things like privacy. So to the issue I think that Peter or someone said earlier about your kids not wanting to show up in a Google image cache, we want to say you can post that picture, post that video of your daughters, but put it behind a privacy wall with this service Vox that we have that says only my family can see this, only my friends can see it. If you want to have everybody in the world see it, great. There's plenty of ways to do that, and that's something that we're not necessarily going to worry about with some of these new tools. But that's not what most of the world wants to do. Most of the world wants to just share with the people that they know and care about.
Oliver?
I think we see a realization among self-creators and self-publishers that their content is valuable. Right? I think this is the first introduction of that notion, and we just know that it's resonating with us right now. Mm-hmm. Is that these young creators or old creators, or age, I guess, independent, but novice to professional, are all realizing that there's this promise of the internet that allows for ubiquitous distribution, and now there are business models emerging that protect their content and that allow it to be monetized and actually build businesses. The other thing I predict is that there is, or I will make a prediction, is that there is this great conflict that's going to occur, I think for search engines in particular, of whether, because video is a different beast, of whether or not you're a portal and you're programming your search engine, or whether you are a indexing engine and you are indexing other people's content. And so I think that that's an interesting area that's going to be, that I'd love to hear people talk about it at a future date, but it's an interesting area of contention that's going to happen.
Okay.
Because, especially with media companies involved in them.
Eric, last words?
Pure Video will have 5 branded media properties serving approximately 250 million monetizable streams, so streams that can carry advertising, and a suite of user utilities under the Pure Video brand that allow you to find, create,
That's
and
what you
share
have
video.
today, isn't it?
We have 3 branded media properties. So in a year, we'll have 5. They'll have roughly double the amount of streams we have. All those streams will be able to take advertising. And we'll have a suite of utilities under our Pure Video brand that allow you to find, create, and share, which is basically us exposing the tech work we've done on the back end.
And you're looking for partners right now?
We're not really looking for anything other than the time and energy to execute on everything we want to do. But we have a very specific, very, I would say, focused plan.
Got it. Jason?
Well, I think, a year ago, people were talking about video on the internet. Is it finally going to happen? The confluence of broadband and creation technologies. And I think anybody sitting here now says video on the web has arrived, right? There's no debating it. There's no going backwards. It's here. And I think a year from now, you'll basically see the internet take its place increasingly alongside TV, live performance, other forms of distribution, as a truly viable mechanism for consumption and distribution of video. And I think there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. And I think what you'll start to see is, I don't think there's an inherent conflict between search and portal. Search is one way to navigate the world. And if you look at the pendulum swing between, Yahoo started out as a directory when 2 guys sitting in a trailer in Stanford could actually surf the web and decide what was interesting. That becomes difficult, to say the least. And I think you'll start to see the fragmentation of sources and types of videos go the same way as the rest of the web. You will need search, but you will also need valuable human editorial programming, because people want to have the ability to find what they want, but also find what other people think is interesting. And I think you'll see a lot more combination of those things with all the social tools, the professional programming, and the technology.
Peter?
Today, when you want to find a piece of information, you go to Google and look it up. In a year, hopefully less than a year, when you want to find a video, you'll go to Google Video, and we'll find that video for you, no matter where it is on the web. And hopefully we'll have a selection of video that you actually can't find anywhere else. The second thing we'll do is monetize any video, no matter where it is on the web.
It's powerful. And I gotta admit, you guys were really one of the first video portals ever. I remember 405, which became incredibly popular about 5 years ago. It was on Atom. I mean, it's where
It's actually on iFilm, our new corporate sibling.
Oh, I'm
at
sorry, that's
Viacom.
your competition.
They're a new sibling at Viacom.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
So
it's all in
that's
the
what it
family.
was. And that's what really drove people, hey, check out this video.
Yeah.
You're on dial-up? Oh, you can't see it. And you really, the haves and have-nots couldn't enjoy that content. Now it's everywhere. So where do you see it, Scott?
Well, it's an interesting point. I mean, so Atom Films was a classic Web 1.0 business, and we've perfected, or I don't want to say we've perfected, we've established a really successful business model around that. Meanwhile, Web 2.0 services have shown a lot of interesting features and ways to get audiences and communities to do things they weren't doing before. But I don't think there are established business models that are really successful around that proposition yet. So where we see Atom Films and Atom Entertainment in general over the next year is marrying the two and applying a productive business model to some of these new ideas that provides great value for advertisers and content creators.
Real quick push for me, I do a daily intelligent report, goes out to about 50,000 people every day. If you give me your card, I'll opt you in. And let's thank our panelists. It was awesome. Thank you very much, guys. And thank you, and enjoy the rest of Digital Hollywood.